Although Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune may seem like immovable TV institutions, the two game shows could find their schedules changing soon thanks to an ongoing court case between Sony and CBS. Wheel of Fortune began airing in 1975 and is currently entering its 50th consecutive year on the air. Jeopardy, created by the same media mogul Merv Griffin, has been on the air even longer. The general knowledge game show began airing in 1964 and is currently in its 41st season. Although Jeopardy's production was temporarily halted due to the California wildfires, this is not the only complication faced by the two legendary quiz shows in the early weeks of 2025. CBS and Sony have been embroiled in an ongoing battle over the syndication rights to the two shows since October 2024. Per The Hollywood Reporter, Sony announced plans to take over global distribution of both shows as the entertainment giant alleged that CBS had failed to follow the terms of their long-standing syndication agreement. This resulted in a court case between CBS and Sony over Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. Judge Kevin C. Brazile ensured that CBS would remain home to Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune for now by granting the network a temporary restraining order. However, this is not the end of the litigation between the two parties in the case. A statement from Sony noted that the court's order has no bearing on, and is not indicative of, the eventual outcome of the ongoing litigation. The schedules of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are not yet impacted, as they are both still produced by Sony and distributed by CBS for the time being. Sony's statement clarified that the restraining order only temporarily stops the company from taking over the distribution of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. In contrast, a spokesperson for CBS was more confident, saying, "We will continue to seamlessly distribute Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy to our station clients like we have for over 40 years, and calling Sony's attempts to take over distribution unlawful actions." CBS is positioning Sony's move as an unprecedented and unfair attack, whereas Sony depicts it as an inevitable reaction to what they allege is CBS's deliberate mismanagement of the two shows. This case could eventually result in Sony taking over distribution for the two game shows, which may change when and where they air. Alternatively, CBS may win and the show's schedules might never be impacted by this court case. Distribution rights relate to where shows air when they air, and which advertisers support them. As CBS received a temporary restraining order, the broadcast plan for Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune will remain intact for now. Both shows are among the most popular and longest-running game shows in American TV history, so it is likely that Sony will continue trying to take over distribution rights until they either win in court or receive a more permanent solution that ceases their efforts. The schedules of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are not yet impacted, as they are both still produced by Sony and distributed by CBS for the time being. However, this may change as the court case continues. To complicate matters somewhat, spin-offs like Celebrity Jeopardy, Pop Culture Jeopardy, and Jeopardy Masters air on networks other than CBS, but are produced by Sony. Wheel of Fortune's fate isn't complicated by similar spin-offs, but it is clear from the case that Sony is seeking distribution rights to both shows rather than only one franchise. This inevitably leads to the question of why the game shows are so highly valued by both companies, which comes down to their persistent popularity and their status as reliable ratings winners. Both Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are among the most lucrative syndicated shows in the US, so it makes sense that neither Sony nor CBS is willing to give up without a fight. Since CBS has handled distribution for both shows for decades, the company has established relationships with the channels that currently air the two series. This means that CBS maintaining distribution rights would most likely result in the schedules of the game shows remaining the same, but this isn't necessarily a guarantee. For their part, Sony claims that CBS has been egregiously undercutting the value and profitability of these shows. This could be taken as confirmation that if granted distribution rights at the conclusion of this lawsuit, Sony would change how, when, and where the long-running game shows air. However, this isn't a guarantee either. The decisions that both companies will make in the future are tough to predict as both shows are reliable hits, but also TV institutions. It might be risky to change their scheduling, or it could be viewed as a necessary innovation to keep them profitable. Whatever the outcome, CBS and Sony's battle over Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune is far from over.